In the grand theatrical production of corporate marketing fiascos, 2023 introduced us to the Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney saga, a tale as baffling as a raccoon trying to solve a Rubik's Cube. Ah yes, Bud Light, the beer of choice for tailgate parties, frat house initiations, and regrettable tattoo decisions. Who would have guessed that a corporate blunder so breathtakingly out of touch was brewing behind the scenes? It's like they looked at the classic playbook of how not to run a business and decided to wing it. Imagine, if you will, a boardroom meeting with all the creative synergy of a DMV waiting line, where executives puffed up with more buzzwords than a Silicon Valley TED Talk gather to discuss their latest strategy. Picture a room where the atmosphere is so thick with corporate jargon, it feels like you're swimming through a sea of LinkedIn profiles. "We need to disrupt the market," says one executive, his voice echoing with the hollow resonance of someone who last drank a Bud Light at their nephew's 6th birthday party. Yes, because nothing says disruption like taking a massive gamble with your target demographic's loyalty. I mean, why wouldn't the average Bud Light drinker, who cherishes belching competitions and the occasional barroom brawl, connect deeply with Dylan Mulvaney? It's so obvious. So there they are, the Bud Light Brain Trust, gathered around a polished mahogany table, sipping their artisanal lattes, discussing ways to stay mission-driven and innovative. Because when you're selling a beer that costs less than a sandwich, innovation is crucial, right? "Let's partner with an influencer," suggests Tina from marketing, whose expertise in consumer behavior is rivaled only by her ability to completely misread the room. Her words are met with enthusiastic nods, as if she had just suggested solving world hunger with a new line of pretzel-flavored beer. But not just any influencer, oh no. They needed someone who screamed relatability to the beer-guzzling masses. Someone with the kind of reach that transcends demographics. Enter Dylan Mulvaney. Because nothing breaks down barriers quite like a TikTok star who produces content as polarizing as pineapple on pizza. What could possibly go wrong with merging the worlds of beer and whatever it is that Dylan stands for, besides maybe alienating literally everyone? So here we are, watching the train wreck unfold in slow motion, the kind you can't look away from even if you wanted to. It's like watching a company collectively jump off a cliff wearing parachutes made of cement. And here's the kicker. Somewhere in this brainstorming session, with all the synergy and mission-driven discourse, not one single person thought to raise a hand and say, "Hey guys, do our customers even know who Dylan Mulvaney is?" Nope, not a single voice of reason. It's as if common sense was left at the door with the receptionist. What's even more fascinating is the post-announcement phase. The outrage, the backlash, a spectacular symphony of discontent that no amount of public relations wizardry could silence. The digital world exploded like a Mentos in a Coke bottle, with social media feeds filled with more vitriol than a political debate. And there stood the Bud Light execs, clutching their pearls, absolutely gobsmacked, as if they hadn't just shot themselves in both feet with a horse tranquilizer. The financial fallout was staggering. Millions upon millions swirling the drain like that last lonely beer in a keg at a deserted frat party. In a matter of days, Bud Light found itself in the kind of PR nightmare that would make even the most hardened spin doctors weep quietly into their morning espressos. Whoever thought that aligning a beer brand primarily associated with Sundays at the NASCAR track with a social media influencer to whom their core audience couldn't relate would help sales? Well, they clearly skipped the day they taught audience understanding at Marketing 101. But let's not be too harsh. After all, these executives are just trying to maintain their relevance in an ever-evolving cultural landscape. They're earnest, misguided souls, trying to connect with a new generation while simultaneously alienating the one that actually buys their product. It's a delicate tightrope walk, like performing Cirque du Soleil on a budget of a high school musical. And haven't we all, at some point, wished to be cooler than we really are? And so, as Bud Light continues to nurse its self-inflicted wounds, we're left to ponder, did anyone learn anything from this? Did a single light bulb flicker to life above anyone's head? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. Somewhere in the boardrooms of America, another group of executives is watching with bated breath, wondering how they too can frivolously ignite a dumpster fire with nothing but a can of beer and a social media post. Because if there's one thing corporate America excels at, it's taking notes in the middle of a train wreck, convinced they can make it a circus act. Cheers to that, Bud Light. The launch day of Bud Light's newest campaign arrived with all the subtlety of a marching band playing at a silent retreat. The executives were likely sitting around their sleek conference room table, sipping from monogrammed mugs, confident that their game-changing ad was going to be the talk of the nation. And oh, it was. Just not in the way they had envisioned. As soon as the digital clock struck launch, the campaign rolled out across the country. Picture it. A brand poised to revolutionize beer marketing with a pretentious narrative that reeked of art house cinema and a voiceover with all the gravitas of an Oscar speech. This was Bud Light's moment to shine, or so they thought. The ad hit the internet with a fanfare of tweets, TikToks, and Reddit threads. Within minutes, the American public was dissecting it with the precision of a scalpel-wielding surgeon on Twitter, or X, as it now insisted on being called. Though there was nothing mysterious about the digital evisceration that followed. What began as a hopeful launch quickly devolved into an internet trash fire, a term that perfectly encapsulates the chaos that ensued. On Twitter, the hashtag BudLightFail trended faster than a cat video shared by a Kardashian. Users gleefully mocked each pretentious line and bizarrely out-of-touch scene in the ad. One particularly scathing post pointed out that the campaign had all the authenticity of a reality TV star's plastic smile. Meanwhile, TikTok creators flexed their comedic chops, mimicking and exaggerating the ad's earnestness with absurdity that outdid the original. Think interpretative dances featuring overly dramatic beer pouring and soliloquies addressed to beer cans. Reddit, the ever-reliable forum for collective snark, was no different. The threads were ablaze with memes and comments that brought to life the kind of creative mockery one only sees when the internet comes together for a common cause: public shaming. It was like watching a Super Bowl ad if the Super Bowl ad had been written by an alien who had only heard of humans through interpretive dance, one user quipped, with upvotes skyrocketing into the thousands. Bud Light's intended audience, young, hip drinkers looking for a brew that spoke to their souls, responded instead with the enthusiasm of a teenager forced to watch a Shakespearean play on a sunny weekend. It was, in essence, the Karen culture nightmare, a campaign so tone-deaf it could serve as a cautionary tale in marketing textbooks for decades to come. In a panic rivaling that of a parent discovering their toddler wielding a Sharpie in a white-carpeted room, Bud Light's PR team scrambled to mitigate the damage. They released a statement that read like it had been churned out by a committee of robots designed to simulate empathy. The apology came in the form of a carefully crafted letter, dripping with corporate jargon and vague expressions of understanding that only served to heighten the humor of the situation. It was as if the person drafting the apology had taken a course in how to write like a politician and had graduated with flying colors. "We hear you, we value your feedback, and we are committed to ensuring our messaging resonates with our diverse audience," the statement proclaimed. But much like convincing a teenager that cleaning their room is fun, this apology missed the mark spectacularly. The public, already wielding digital pitchforks, wasn't about to let this limp attempt at reconciliation slide. Social media lit up once again, this time with a vengeance. PR 101. "If you have to parody your own sincerity, you might be doing it wrong," a popular tweet declared, capturing the essence of Bud Light's floundering attempt to regain control of the narrative. Some compared the apology to a malfunctioning GPS. No matter how many times you recalculated the route, you were still driving off a cliff. The backlash, of course, wasn't limited to the digital realm. In bars across the nation, patrons raised their glasses not in a toast to Bud Light, but in bemused disdain, recounting the company's latest blunder to anyone willing to listen. It became the punchline of late-night talk shows and the butt of jokes at office water coolers. The beer itself, once a staple in the fridge of every tailgate enthusiast, was now somewhat of an ironic party favor, something to be handed out at gatherings with a wink and a nod. As Bud Light sputtered in its efforts to repair its image, the American public was busy doing what it did best, turning the whole debacle into entertainment. Because if there's one thing America loves, it's a good old-fashioned cultural spectacle where everyone can participate, from the seasoned Twitter warrior to the Facebook mom sharing memes with her book club. In the end, the campaign that was meant to elevate Bud Light to new heights instead highlighted an uncomfortable truth about marketing in the digital age. The message might leave the boardroom with all the confidence of a peacock strutting its stuff, but once it meets the unforgiving scrutiny of the internet, all bets are off. The internet had spoken, and in this case, the message was loud and clear. Sometimes, it's better to just crack open a cold one and save the speeches for another day. The aftermath of the great Bud Light debacle, or, as it might be known in future marketing textbooks, how to unpack a disaster with a twist of lime. Following the misadventure that was Bud Light's bold and bewildering misstep, the CMO found himself ejected from his lofty perch, flapping his wings as he plummeted away from the hot mess he helped concoct. Was this a case of the organization finally recognizing the emperor's lack of clothing, or just a convenient scapegoat sacrifice to the insatiable gods of public opinion? To understand this debacle, we must dive into the psychological labyrinth known as the God complex, a condition not rare among large brands. You see, as companies grow, they often come to see themselves not merely as producers of goods, but as benevolent deities doling out cultural significance. It's a heady feeling being a market titan, championing a product whose primary function is to facilitate human bonding, or sometimes forgetting life's troubles for a few blissful hours. When you're the liquid medium of choice for backyard barbecues and awkward first dates, it becomes easy to slip into delusions of omnipotence. Yet, in this self-constructed deity role, these brands often forget the cardinal rule. People might worship at your altar, but they prefer if you stay off the pulpit. It's the marketing equivalent of giving your dog a high five for sitting pretty, only to have it suddenly pontificate on the merits of existentialism. Who asked for such profundity? Certainly not the Bud Light drinkers, whose purchase intent rarely exceeds a desire for refreshment and a modicum of social lubrication. And yet, despite the backlash, the outcry, the uproarious chortle from late-night television, why will they do it again? Because like a cat enamored by its own reflection, corporations of this magnitude are genetically predisposed to return to their narcissistic tendencies. It's embedded in their DNA, reinforced by boardroom echo chambers where everyone agrees that their brand is not just part of the zeitgeist, but is the zeitgeist. They are the myth-makers, after all, and history has shown that myth-makers are nothing if not persistent. The cycle is as predictable as it is mesmerizing. A brand steps out of line, consumers react with the collective disdain of a cat confronted by an unexpected cucumber. And then, like clockwork, comes the mea culpa tour, a solemn promise to reflect, to learn, to serve better. But scratch the surface of these apologies, and you'll find the real promise. We will wait just long enough for you to forget. And then, oh yes, then we'll try again. It's a beautifully orchestrated dance of hubris and vanity, perpetuated because the stakes are high and the rewards of a successful reinvention, or even a blip of attention, are intoxicating. What's a little public scorn if it means potentially capturing a new demographic or two? After all, if the brand gods can't be worshipped, they can at least be talked about at the water cooler. But the true jest in this carnival of commerce is more subtle. The titanic corporations in their ivory towers of influence might believe themselves immortal, unshaken by mere mortals' opinions. Yet they're caught in a curious contradiction, beholden to the very masses they presume to shape and influence. It's a delicate balance, akin to a seesaw with one side sitting reality and the other delusion. And so we arrive at the inevitable punchline of this pantomime. As Bud Light licks its wounds and the dismissed CMO wistfully updates his resume, capitalism carries on, blissfully unaware of its own irony. For capitalism, that fickle mistress, has a penchant for common sense as selective as its moral compass. It is a system that rewards the audacious while simultaneously reprimanding the reckless, yet always with room for redemption should profits prevail. So there it is, the bitter truth wrapped in a hearty guffaw. In the land of the free and the home of the brave, where common sense is often a rare commodity, the true currency is not wisdom or restraint, but the relentless pursuit of capital gains. As we toast to lessons unlearned and repeat performances guaranteed, remember, in the theater of capitalism, the curtain never truly falls. The show, dear friends, must go on, and on it shall, until the next brand steps up to the plate, raises its banner, and exclaims, "What could possibly go wrong?"